St. Dionysius, the Areopagite, with whom I've become familiar, especially through the work of our Archbishop, coined the term hierarchy. I mentioned that. He invented the word. He did not mean by that term to refer to some sort of vertical principle of organization. Frankly, that's very male to do it that way, and it's actually a dysfunctional way to do hierarchy. He didn't mean that to refer to some vertical principle of organization. Instead, what he actually meant was pretty much what we mean when we say liturgy. Tomorrow, when we're in the liturgy, there is a hierarchy going on. Literally, the word is holy order. There's a holy order. It's a place where the president will stand, the concelebrating priest will stand. I know what I'm doing. Why? I'm in an OCA church, and they serve in a semi-Russian style. I served with Father Marcus once in Ayin Karim in the Holy Land. We walked in halfway through a Russian vigil in Russian with Russian monks and Russian nuns singing the choir. We got there, and we're standing in the congregation halfway enjoying ourselves when suddenly nuns come and grab us and take us back into the sacristy, and there are the proper vestments laid out for us. And so we suit up and go and take our place in the altar amid the Russian priest monks. And we're there, and it's like we're in a Russian liturgy, vigil, Father Marcus. And by George, they do it just like we do it. And when it was your turn, and we all know when your turn is because there's a hierarchy. There's a holy order about how to do this. When it was our turn, we did it in English. The nuns would sing their Pamaluis back at us, but it just took apart. It was fun. But it's because there was a hierarchy. And the mystery of it, Dionysius would say, is the holy order of all of this going on. And that holy order includes the building and you and the icons and all of this. It is a holy order that reveals the order of heaven. It's the order of heaven that's being revealed, the inner thing of this. And that we're, so that we'll actually sing as we start coming out. Let us who mystically represent the cherubim and sing the thrice holy hymn. And that's not just the guys carrying the fans. That's all of us. We're all singing it. This is the mystical liturgy. And we're all doing that. We're all participating in the energies of this. So it's a recognition that God not only created the universe, but that he ordered the universe. It gave it an arche. This is the way things work. For Dionysius, the liturgy reflects the ordering of the universe. Did you know there's a reason why we go in that direction, counterclockwise? Because that's which way your stars go. Except in the southern hemisphere, sorry. Poor Australia. But anyway, we follow the path of the heavens. And, they knew that. They paid attention to that. We follow the ordering of the universe. Let us mystically represent the cherubim, and our actions in the liturgy reveal something that's otherwise hidden. This ordering is not just true of angels, the 9 ranks of angels, but it's true of everything. All of creation, there's this huge ordering going on outside us as things are blooming and this cycle of life that is happening, this wonderful hierarchy of creation. This is part of what's weird about modernity is instead of honoring the hierarchy of creation, we want to remake it into things it's not. To reinvent human beings into things we're not. We do funny things with plants that we probably shouldn't do. I'm one of those people that particularly doesn't like GMOs. Keep them out of my food. Leave the molecules alone, please. God built a hierarchy into it, and it's okay to crossbreed the things, but when you start going in and messing around beneath the hood, and tinkering with it, I don't know what you might come up with. God tends to have ordered things so that you can't quite make it kill me, the way your GMOs are probably doing, as we all get cancer and die. There's some problems going on. We ignore the hierarchy there to our own detriment. The same is true of the universe. This is important when we talk about tradition as Orthodox. It's a fundamental spiritual stance to have a respect for what was given to me, that I am not my own creation. And it doesn't mean that we're slaves to the past. It just means this was handed down. This was handed down to me from a whole lot of other human beings. I come from a long line of human beings, and some of it's been messed up along the line, and we have to pay attention. There's a discernment goes on in that. But there is, a lot of the answers when people say, why do you do that as Orthodox? The answer is because that's the way we've always done it. And that's not a wrong answer. I mean, it's only the beginning of the answer. The long version is the long version. And you don't want to hear the long version. But my children learned to ask theological questions of their mother. Because I was likely to give them the long version. This ordering, not just true of angels, but of everything. Everything is made through the Logos, the Word, the Logos of God, Christ, and has its own Logos, little Logos, Logoi we call them, these little Logos. Everything has it. Everything has Christ in it, an image of Christ. Everything is formed and shaped, and the ordering of all things moves towards that. So, there's examples of hidden order in human relationships, and here's part of the mystery, that you know it, you just don't know you know it, because we don't talk about it very much. I tell people that learning to know God, to believe in God, is like learning to ride a bicycle. How do you learn it? You get on and you fall off. You get on and you fall off, and you do it till you quit falling off and you ride. And then someone asks you, how do you ride a bicycle? And you can't tell them. There's no words for how you ride a bicycle. What do? You tell them to get on it and until you quit falling. And you ride. You have to fall a lot. Well, being a human, has a lot of that to do with it. How do children learn to walk? They fall down a lot until they don't fall down. It's so much fun. I love watching kids do that, And they just, the falling down, not so bad. But anyway, sometimes it's really funny falls. But just learning to walk and just being amazed at this thing. Well, there is a learning about the universe into which we've been created and placed in our relationships with other human beings. And sometimes we get that wrong. You get into an organization. When I went off to seminary, I think there's 3 organizations in our culture: seminaries, medical schools, and law schools. All 3 of them have their origins in the Middle Ages. And all 3 of them are extremely hierarchical. I knew it in seminary, and we had, you could tell the ranks of this, that, and the other, and the dean, and it was, my seminary was very British. All this stuff, very British, had funny names for everything. But you had to learn the hidden lines. Sometimes a workplace can have that. I went to work, when I first became Orthodox, I worked in a hospice, home hospice office, and went out to visit the dying. But when I got there, the first week I was there, it was an awful workplace. There were tensions, there was anger, lots of times unspoken, but it was there. And I just thought, what is this? And I thought, I don't know what it is, but Stephen, you're a priest. You need to act like one. And so I decided to be cheerful and kind and just do that. And it turned out there was another woman in the office who picked up on it and started being cheerful and kind. And within a couple or 3 weeks, there was someone, as it turned out to be the uncheerful, unkind person that was causing all the torment in the office. And I don't know if they moved her somewhere else or they fired her, but after she was gone, we had peace. We had joy. It was, something was going on. And, maybe you could have a consultant come in and they tell you things, but there's just that the dynamic was wrong. How do you talk about these dynamics that come around? How do you describe them? Well, there's dynamics with male and female. And a tricky thing in a culture is, because cultures actually have to teach this, where part of it's born into us, but most of it's learned. And so culture's part of it. And if that changes or breaks down, we get it wrong a lot. A priest I worked with in Oak Ridge, he studied for a while at Vanderbilt. Sorry, that's like going to Harvard. Anyway, he was in a class, and someone called him down and told him he was a cis white male and his opinions didn't matter. Well, you can't have an education if that's how the hierarchy is going to work, that cis white males don't get opinions, that whatever you've inherited something from your ancestors, and, you can't do that. And you can drive a little boy crazy trying to find his way if those are the sorts of rules he's running into. But we frequently get these things wrong. Sometimes male-female culture can be brutal. Men can be rude. Men can be rapists. Men can be all of these things. We can, and there's things historically that are troubling. And someone has said that the greatest role of civilization is to civilize young men, because if you don't, they're violent. Why? Well, I guess Jordan Peterson would blame it on testosterone and some other things like that. It's our inner lobster or something, and yeah. So it's it's dangerous, and civilizing them. I mean, I said we had 3 girls and 1 boy. The first 2 children we had were girls. So I made a quick decision as our daughters were coming along that we weren't going to spank. I told my wife why. I said, I can't hit them. She said, why? I can't hit a girl. She said, why? Because it's how I was raised. You cannot hit a girl. You cannot hit a girl. It's just it. Shoot me, but I can't hit you. It's just how it is. I can't do that. So I'm not spanking these girls. We'll figure out something else, but I can't spank them. Now I had models, because I was one of 3 boys. I had models in my head that you could beat a boy to half death. That's the way we... My dad, we get whipped and stuff. They just, golly gee. But my son was the beneficiary of this, because when he came along, I didn't spank him either. But and they all turned out just fine without the spanking. There's other ways. In fact, a mother can do it really well. No, sorry. Just one look. That's all it took. Yes. So, but these learning to read these things, learning to read it. Parish life. I served as Dean of Appalachia for a while, and some things I did well, a lot of things I didn't do well. But it's interesting is you're kind of working with crisis in a parish, and in small missions, there's always a crisis or something going on. The dynamics. You've got someone who's been elected as senior warden and is on parish council, and so that's what the book says where the authority should be and how that works and da-da-da. But there's actually someone perhaps not on the council that if they don't agree to it and support it, you ain't going to work. There's just unofficial authority lines in parish culture that can be there, and it can eat you alive. I know I needed to fire a scoutmaster one time in a big Episcopal parish where I served, and I went to several people in the parish who had nothing to do, any authority line whatsoever with the scouting, except I knew they cared a great deal about the scouting program, and they were deeply cared for in the parish. And I went and met with each of them separately to tell them about what the problem was and what I needed to do, and that I needed their support, and got their support before I acted. Why? Because being the rector, that's on paper. It's not always how things are. Your family may work like that too, we had a lot of dysfunctional things in my family growing up, so that there were things you asked Dad, there were things you asked Mom, then there were things you asked Mom to ask Dad, and all kinds of things, and these dynamics. We first got married. I went out. When I was working in a band in a bar out on Pleasantburg Drive, students at Furman, but I was working in this bar. Tuesday night, we'd been married, got married my senior year. I'm going out, and I said to Beth, I'm going out to get a pack of cigarettes. I smoked too. And she said, no, you're not. And I thought, whoa, wait a minute, what's this? And I said, what do you mean? And she said, you're not going out to get a pack of cigarettes. You do this every Tuesday night. You're going up to Dean's Den to play the pinball machine and drink a beer. She was right. That was what I did. She said, but you always say, I'm going out for a pack of cigarettes. Why do you do that? And I said, because that's what my dad always said when he was going out for a beer. Because you never said, in our dear Baptist home, I'm going out for a beer. You didn't say that. We all knew it, but you never said it. And she just basically said, we're not going to play Jim and Nancy. I thought, great. I'm going to go play the pinball machine and get a beer. I'll be back later. And I did, and it was fine. But it was like a new thing to me. I mean, I had no idea. Here I am coming into a marriage, and I'm bringing the dysfunctional lives of my parents to do this so that I can teach her how we can have a bad marriage. No, I said she was teaching me how to be a man. A man says, I'm going to go get a beer and play the pinball machine. I'll be back. Unless you say no. In which case, yes, dear, I'll stay home and do the dishes. So, love, how does all of this work? Let me close this out.